and welcome to this episode of Al's Garage. Today we're working on our 1994 Ford F-150. This has the 4.9 liter straight six with the 5-speed manual transmission. This is having a recurring issue where the idle speed is super rough, but only when the thing starts up. It only lasts for about a minute, and it's only when it's cold. So I drove this a little bit ago. We're going to wait until, I don't know, another couple hours when it gets dark, and we'll test it again, see if we can figure out what the problem is, and we're going to try to replicate the issue here first. All right, here we are back at the truck. We are going to try it again, see if we have a rough idle on start. Idle. It should smooth out here in another 10 seconds, 15 seconds. And this is what it's been doing most of the time we've started it recently. So obviously the goal is to correct this. Here, let me roll down the window so you can hear the engine better. And usually I start driving it and then it seems to correct itself. So the goal here, I'm going to try to install a new idle air control valve, and I'm going to see if that's going to fix it. There you go. After about a minute, it finds its way, and the computer says this is the right idle speed, and here we go. So we are going to bring this over to the garage and make the change. So let's get started. We have our new component here. Now I can see that our old one looks to be original because it says Ford on it. Now keep in mind I have taken this off and apart and cleaned all of the components within here just to, I don't know, give it a refresh. Sometimes there can be carbon buildup within the components here that can cause it to have these exact issues. I did that. It sounded great. It did better, but then almost immediately it started not working and having the same rough idle on start. So here's our new part. You can see that this is a new idle air control valve. Looks to be the same size and within spec here. So I'm going to take a minute or two. I'm going to get the tools needed, which actually there's just two little bolts here that come off. There should be a gasket, which it has here. You can see, and should be a very easy change. So I'm going to do that here. Plug it back in, and we're going to see if we can fix this. Alright, there are two 5/16 inch bolts that need to come off for this idle air control valve to come off. The socket that I need immediately fell out of my hands into the engine bay, and even though this is a straight six and it's an easy open engine, I still lost it. I can't find it. The amount of time it's going to take me to replace this is probably going to be shorter than the amount of time that I spent off camera looking for it. So frustrating. Let's get this done. Okay, we're gonna pull the wire off here. Get the back first. Using our box wrench because my damn socket is still missing. Okay, there's a bracket on the end here, and on this side that holds the wire in, and it kind of faces forward, so I'm just going to remember that as I put this thing back together. Okay, don't drop it. Okay, what I'm going to do is pull the carb cleaner out and do a little bit of cleanup around here, and then we will be back. One of the interesting things to look at, I mean, when you're talking precision fuel intake pieces, here's the old versus new gaskets. I mean, just that could have enough impact to make a difference here. And this, obviously, the bottom gasket, the old one is petrified, whereas this one has a little bit of bend to it, obviously, as the new gasket should. So, I'll be back in a minute. We're going to clean this up, and then we're going to do the install. Alright, I threw both the bolts in here. Let's see if we can see that. Yeah. And so, install we go. Just have a handle on those as they seat, and then tighten them. Since these are aluminum components, you want to make sure the threads start appropriately. This frontmost one is pretty easy here. Get this back one going. Okay. All right, I'm getting these tight, but you obviously don't want to wrench them down too tight since these are aluminum. This is a relatively small wrench, so I don't have the possibility of shearing it off, or as much of a possibility, but it was tight, and now I go maybe another sixth. Nice and snug. There. Perfect. We have our wire, which we're going to plug into the back. There's this little guy that just sticks in there, holds, and then this plugs into the front. You should hear it click. Let's take a look here. Looks like that lines up, this lines up, so we do this. It is a perfect match. Alright, well, at this point, let's start her up and see how she starts. Alright, here we are in the truck. Nice and smooth start. Well, seems like that should work. Well, I'm glad the truck is running nice and smooth, and one thing I didn't really explore because I knew essentially what the problem was just by cleaning the old one and having that be a temporary fix. If you replace this part and it immediately is not the issue, well, it could be a defective part, but also it could be the voltage going to the idle air control valve. The shop manual does a great job of explaining that. I didn't include it in this video because typically that's not usually what happens. It's in a nutshell a mechanical part, and so carbon buildup, especially in a lot of these trucks that have 200,000-300,000 miles, it's a common thing that can happen. So hopefully this was helpful. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.